We're going to kick things off in the Microsoft Foundry portal in the new experience. You'll know you're in the new experience because at the very top of the menu, you'll see New Foundry followed by a toggle button. That toggle should be situated to the right. If it's not to the right, that indicates that you are not in the New Foundry experience and that you are still in the classic experience. So do select that toggle to enter into the new experience. The next thing that we want to ensure is that we have a model deployed. There is another video available on how to deploy models, but as a refresher, you'll go to Discover, followed by Models. And then from here, we're going to be using GPT 4.1-mini. You can search for that model, select it, and then you can deploy it using either the default settings or the custom settings. I have an existing deployment, as you can see. Heading back to the home page, what we'll need to do is keep track of that project endpoint because that is where we're going to start our adventures in Visual Studio Code. In Visual Studio Code, I've created a brand new project called Quick Start. And within here, I'll start by creating my .env file for my environment variables. In this file, I'm going to copy in the environment variables that are provided in the sample for this video. The first one is going to be the Azure AI Foundry project endpoint. So that is the endpoint that I referenced on the welcome page for the new Foundry portal. Next, we have the Foundry agent name. If you are following the code that I'm showing here on the screen, then I do recommend that you name your agent my agent. It'll align with the code in the sample itself. And then just below that, we have the deployment name. And so your deployment for your GPT 4.1 mini model should reflect what I also have here on the screen, which is GPT-4.1-mini. In the event you named your GPT 4.1-mini model something else or using a different model altogether, this is where you're going to want to put in the deployment name for your model. Now, if you are unsure of your deployment name for your model, you can find that within the build section of the Foundry portal. You're going to navigate to models and then find the model that you would like to use. And under the name column is the name for the model itself. Back here in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to save this .env file. And then the next thing I'm going to do is open my terminal. And now I'm going to create a virtual environment. I personally like to use UV because it's quick and fast. So what I'm going to do is type UV, V-E-N-V, and then that creates a virtual environment. And now I need to activate it. I'll type .venv /scripts /activate, just as we've added the command here on the screen. And now that is activated, and I know it's activated because on the far left, I can see that the name of this project is to the far left in the parentheses. The next thing that we want to do is install any dependencies that are going to be necessary. So there's going to be 3. The very first one that we're going to install is Azure AI Projects, and we're going to install the preview version of that. Since I am using UV for my virtual environment, I'll start with UV followed by pip install Azure AI Projects --pre. And there we are, that's been installed. I'm going to clear this screen so we can have more space here. The next dependency that I'm going to install is going to be Azure Identity as well as Python.env. So likewise, you'll enter UV followed by pip install and then the package itself. So Azure Identity and Python-.env. All right, now that's been installed. And there's just one more dependency that will install, and that'll be OpenAI. So to install that, again, UV pip install OpenAI. And we are done with all of our dependencies. Going to run clear again just to give up some more space on here on the screen. The next thing that we're going to do is use the Azure CLI to authenticate to Azure. Depending on how your subscription is set up, it may be as simple as running AZ login, or it may be a combination of AZ login followed by use device code, and you may have to enter in your subscription ID as well. I'm in the latter camp, so that's what I'm going to enter here and press enter. It'll then give you this URL that you need to navigate to and a code that you'll need to enter to authenticate. So I'm going to copy that and control click to access this web page. I'll enter in the code, select the account to sign into, and then click continue. And then from here, I'm going to be signed in. Back here in Visual Studio Code, it's going to retrieve my subscriptions. I need to enter the number for the subscription that I plan to use. So in this case, it's going to be number 1. So I will enter 1 here. And then we have been authenticated. So I'm going to enter clear to clear everything out. All right. So from here, we now need to actually add in the file to chat with the model. So creating a new file, I'm going to call mine chatwithmodel.py, since we are doing this in Python. And then copying and pasting the code that's available in the sample repo for this video. I'll take you through what's in here. So at the very top, we have our import statements, and those should be squared away and taken care of now since we installed our dependencies. And then we're going to load the environment variables. And just below that, we're creating a project client that's going to require both your endpoint that we have stored in an environment variable, and then also the credential that we're going to get by calling default Azure credential. Then just below that, we'll create the OpenAI client as well. And then below that, we're going to create the response, and we're going to use this create method down here. And we're going to pass in the model itself. And so again, that's GPT 4.1 mini. And then the input is going to be the prompt that we're submitting to the model. And so in this case, it's what is the size of France in square miles? And then just below that, we're going to get that response from the output. And that's what we're going to print to the terminal. So let's go ahead and save this. And we're going to run this file. So coming back to the terminal, we're going to enter Python followed by chat-with-model.py. And in doing so, the very first thing that we're going to have output is going to be the endpoint that we're using, the deployment name, and then shortly here, we should have an output from the model as well. All right, so we have our output from the model, and I can see for the input of what is the size of France in square miles, the response output that we get from GPT 4.1 mini is the size of France is approximately 248,573 square miles. So this is how we can chat with the model itself. From here, you can take the code that's available within this chatwithmodel.py file, and you can use it in your own AI solutions.